It's a new era of Alabama football. Nick Saban has retired as the Crimson Tide head coach. I'm Jenni Carlson here with Barry Tramel and Garen Emig, part of our Sellout Crowd college football coverage team. And guys, as we sit here on January 10th, I don't know if we expected to be talking about this news, but Barry, let's start with the timing of this. Obviously, Nick Saban's 73. He's been at Alabama 17 years, 6 national championships. You figured there might come a time when he would retire, but why do we think it was today?
Well, I don't try to get inside Nick Saban's head, but he never struck me as a guy that's thrilled with the New World Order. You know, he didn't seem like a guy that was crazy about the transfer portal, uh, the effects of NIL. He, waged war a summer ago with Jimbo Fisher. So we knew this day was coming sometime. I don't know that anybody knew it was coming right now, but he wasn't going to coach forever. And we've seen, landmark coaches get out of the business in recent years, both football and basketball. So it's not a stunning surprise. It's not Bob Stoops in summer 2017, but it had to be a cataclysmic feeling for anybody that's loyal to the Crimson Tide.
Garen, are you like the rest of us? Even though he is 73, Saban seemed like a guy that, maybe he'd coach until further notice. Is there surprise just that this day has come?
There is, Jenni. It's one of those that we probably have seen coming for about, half as long as Saban was at Alabama. It seemed like every year, and at every national championship he stacked, we thought, well, when's enough going to be enough? When's he going to enjoy his sweet life, his legacy as the greatest college coach, most likely of all time, and just, go to Florida, or if not buy his own island, and get away from recruiting, and get away from parents' phone calls, and get away from NIL and the things that Barry referenced. So as much as we should have and might have seen this coming, it still doesn't lessen the impact. Because if you, as you mentioned out of the gate, new era for Alabama football, Nick Saban retiring essentially means it's a new era for college football. Like it or not, and I don't know if we always did, Alabama football sort of was congruous with college football once he got that machine going. So this has a jarring effect, not just on Alabama and the SEC, but really the national landscape. It's that big a story.
Yeah, we'll talk about the SEC and obviously Oklahoma and now their part in it here in a second. But Garen, you reference Saban's place or potential place in college football and the annals and the greats and all of that. Do you put him at the top? Where do you place Saban as he exits from Alabama?
Well, in my lifetime, Jenni, I don't think there's a question. There are going to be those more qualified than me to wax on about Bud Wilkinson and Newt Rockne and Ara Parseghian and people like that. Of course, at Alabama, they're going to start perhaps still with Bear Bryant, but I don't pretend to go toe to toe with that crowd. They're going to know more about those legacies than me. I just know that it's indisputable in terms of the time that I've spent writing or caring about college football. The fact that he's not just had more success and won more championships, but he's done it at a time where there's been a level, in a way, the playing field has been leveled by some things that have happened in college football the last 5 or 6 years. His staff gets rated annually. Doesn't seem to affect anything that he does at Alabama. The expectations only grow exponentially based on, again, stacking championships as he does. Doesn't seem to affect him in the least. For him to deal with all of the outside noise, or I guess his term for it would be rat poison, and continue to win as he has for as long as he has, to me, makes him a clear-cut best of all time.
Barry, for years, I heard you talk about Bill Snyder as the best ever for his reclamation project of the K-State football program. Is that still the case, or is Nick Saban now the top of the heap?
Well, if you're talking about the best, most successful coach in college football history, it's not close. It pains me to even think about removing Bill Snyder from the mountaintop, but if I was ever going to move somebody from it, it would be Nick Saban. Here's a way to look at it. We all love Barry Switzer. We all love and respect what he did at OU. I count Barry Switzer playing in, depending on how you want to measure it, 4 or 5 playoff games. Nick Saban coached in 18 playoff games, and he won 13 of them. he won his playoff games the way you got to win them in the NFL. I mean, he won his national titles on the field. There's no vote before the bowl games. There's no playing an inferior team in a bowl game because of antiquated contracts. He went 13-5 against teams ranked in the top 4 in the country in the postseason. That's just unbelievable and phenomenal, and it really defies the belief. So he stands alone in terms of the most successful coach. Bear Bryant didn't do anything like that. Bud Wilkinson didn't do anything like that. Woody Hayes didn't do anything like that. The modern guys, Urban Meyer, Bob Stoops, Steve Spurrier, all fabulous coaches, but what Saban did really belies the belief.
Well, all that said, you guys putting him at the top of the mountain for college football coaches. Now that begs the question: who the heck wants to take over for this guy? So what's next at Alabama? Because obviously Alabama wants to continue to go 13-5 in playoff games. They want to continue to win national championships. Barry, what's your best guess for where Alabama goes from here?
My best guess is the Pacific Northwest. Dan Lanning or Kalen DeBoer. I'm good with either one of them. Oregon, Washington, young guns who did fantastic. Of course, Washington made the college football playoff this year. Dan Lanning's done a great job at Oregon. That'd be my best guess on where they might go.
Garen?
My first call, it's Greg Burns, the AD, right? Not Bill. Yep. I get that confused all the time.
Bill's son. Yeah.
Okay, Greg is Bill's son. That's why I'm confused. There's a reason.
Yep.
I suppose the first call is to Kirby Smart out of courtesy. I don't think Smart leaves what he's got going on at Georgia, even for Alabama. The second call I'd make is to Austin. And that's because unlike the two Pac-12 guys, or formerly Pac-12 guys that Barry referenced, DeBoer and Lanning, Sarkisian has experience as a head coach at a place where you're always being asked questions. Why can't you do this? Why not that? Right? I mean, it's always got to be better at Austin. And not only did Sarkisian answer those questions and sort of rebuilding Texas football to where so many people think it should be, he handled the player development side of it well. And folks, there are so many tentacles to Saban's career that really are just, odds defying. The numbers jump out about championships and success and supremacy in the SEC and also nationally. I think I'm stealing this from ESPN, guys. At the time that Nick was at Alabama, 44 first-round picks and 29 losses. How's that for a comparison? And that speaks to player development. I mean, Saban had some advantages in Tuscaloosa that a lot of coaches and a lot of other places don't, but you shouldn't shortchange the development that went on there. And I just wrote something for Sellout Crowd about the development that's gone on in Austin since Sarkisian took over. And I think that matters, not just that he coaches in such a fishbowl like he does in Austin, with the expectations being what it is, with the resources being what they are. I think there are some things that would translate to Tuscaloosa. I don't know if he'd take the job. I don't know if that's who Greg Byrne calls first, but that would be my suggestion.
Aren't there some interesting dominoes that could fall here, guys? Because some of the names that y'all mentioned are among some of the most sought after jobs, or have become very sought after with loaded rosters. I mean, if you've got a Kirby Smart moving, or a Sarkisian, or Lanning, or DeBoer, I mean, and let's not forget, Michigan could come open, guys. The dominoes that could fall. We talk about quarterbacks, new quarterbacks coming in because of the portal. The number of big time programs that could have new coaches next year. It's sort of remarkable to think about one domino falling and what could be next, depending on where Alabama goes from here. We talked about this a second ago. Obviously, the SEC looks entirely different. Nick Sabanless. OU's getting ready to head into that SEC. Garen, how is the landscape shifted now that Saban's gone? What kind of SEC is OU preparing to now head into?
It's interesting, Jenni, you ask, because aren't we getting the sense that this is suddenly becoming more doable for Oklahoma? And it has to do with Venables winning 10 games, getting the portal right, or more right than he did his first year, and showing us that the Sooners are perhaps more SEC ready now than they were a year ago. but it's also, it's also things outside of Norman. It's LSU still trying to, I think, find its way a little bit since the greatest team perhaps of recent history performed surgery on the Sooners at the Peach Bowl in 2019. It's Tennessee taking a step back after it looked like Josh Heupel finally had the balls in the right direction. It's Florida continuing to be somewhat mediocre, at least by their standards. Auburn is beatable. If you're Oklahoma going into the SEC and you just take a look at the standings from the past season, and if you can just get past Georgia and Alabama and discover that, the team you next have to worry most about might be Missouri, that doesn't seem like a task that can't be accomplished in Norman. Yeah. So taking Saban outside of Alabama doesn't necessarily mean the end of the Crimson Tide dynasty, but I can't imagine people are secure about it. And that's only going to benefit OU and anyone else that's going to challenge them in that league.
Now, Barry, I know I was looking forward to seeing Nick Saban on the sideline in Norman next season. I don't know if anybody who loves the Crimson and Cream was all that fired up about seeing Nick Saban. This seems like a good thing if you're the Sooners.
It's a fabulous thing. Just think about Oz. Ding dong, the witch is dead, and we don't have to ask which old witch. Nothing. That's not a disclaimer on Saban's personality. It's his status as the ruler of college football. Garen's exactly right. This road has become more navigable for the Sooners. And when you look at where Alabama's going to be, they might still be great, probably will be. They're not going to be Saban great. They're not going to be greatest stretch of dominance of all time. So, this is a good day for Oklahoma. Garen is right. When the Sooners signed on to the SEC, Texas was down, and Georgia had not turned into, a combination of Godzilla and King Kong. And all of a sudden, here's Georgia, the second Alabama. Sarkisian gets Texas rolling, and you think, what's going on? But now Saban gone, it is a new light. And if Alabama will go hire Sarkisian, as Garen suggested, that probably weakens two programs. So, heck, it could even get better.
Well, we're shining a lot of good light, apparently, on what's to come for the Sooners. But obviously, this is a developing story as Nick Saban announces his retirement. Alabama obviously now in the hunt for a new coach. We'll continue to follow this story, what it means for the SEC, what it means for Oklahoma and college football. So be following us at Sellout Crowd. We'll continue to follow this story.